Hello, I'm Paul Briley, and you're listening to Off the Comma. On this podcast, we explore all facets of what it means to feel stuck in life. We talk with people just like us who have found themselves sitting on a comma and not knowing where to go next. We'll unpack the experience, where they felt stuck, what they experienced, and what they learned. My goal is to inspire you by seeing yourself in others and finding possibility for yourself. Let's get into this week's conversation. Everybody, welcome back for yet another so satisfying episode of Off the Comma, where we get to hear stories from people just like ourselves every day, learn about their experiences, hear about some of the wisdom that they have either received or created for themselves. And we all get to decide, what parts resonate with us and what parts were just the thing I needed to hear today to really kind of lift me up or inspire me. And first of all, it's a privilege. I say this almost every episode. It's a privilege to be able to do this piece of work that's kind of a part of my larger body of work. It's a privilege to be here with all of these different people who comprise kind of our community of storytellers. And just like so many episodes this week with Teresa, and I'm going to let her introduce herself in a moment. I get to meet somebody kind of fresh and new for the first time. We haven't met before. And so I'm looking forward to learning about Teresa through her story today and getting to hear her story fresh as with all of you out there. So with that said, I'm going to stop making it about me for a second, Teresa. I'm going to hand it over to you to introduce yourself. And what I'd love for you to do is start by telling us, how would you like to be known?
Oh, that's such a brilliant question. Legacy is so important, isn't it? I
Mm,
think it is a key focus, or should be a key focus. I want to be known as somebody who's had influence.
mm,
And by that, I mean, I want to have had deep, real interactions with individuals that leave them thinking differently, opening their mind, and changed just a little bit for the better.
mm. Well, I hear a couple of things there, and I'll jump in and reflect
Please.
throughout our conversation. And by all means, anytime I misreflect something or if I didn't quite get it right, correct me, right?
Okay.
Um, just this very right here at the beginning, the way you've described yourself, I'm hearing very thoughtful, very intentional, and very um serious isn't the right word, but like you take the way you want to be in the world seriously, which I guess is what intentional says.
It is. I do take myself very seriously on how I want to be in the world because, retrospective on my life, I lived by default. And that's a
Mm,
phrase that I came up with probably 4 or 5 years ago, where we bow to all the societal norms and we say, oh, I'm supposed to go to school here and I'm supposed to do this. And then I'm supposed to get the job. Oh, and then I have to marry and have kids and yada, yada, yada. To me, that is living life by default. And I did my very, very best at meeting those societal norms because I never felt normal.
mm, mm.
I know.
Well, and already, like, I have a hard time. It's a conversation between the two of us, and one of the things I struggle with is, and I'll jump in from time to time in self-reference, but it's not my story. But I am going to say you definitely hit a chord there that resonates with
Yeah.
me already. So,
Yeah.
Teresa, I know obviously you're going to expand on a lot of this in your story today. By way of the rest of your introduction, briefly, is there anything else that would be important for people to know before we jump ahead to the questions?
I think the other thing that I want people to know is I'm deeply invested in helping you find your best self
Hmm.
so that you can shed those societal norms. And my way of doing that is by empowering you to find your abilities and your tools that are a natural expression of your greatness.
Mm,
Every single one of us has a thread of brilliance within us that is aching, yearning to be expressed. But when you live life by societal default, by norms, you purposefully have to narrow the aperture so that you fit into a prescribed box. So I'm
hmm
all about not blowing up the box because ouch, um, but more releasing all of the things that don't align with your authentic expression. And for
mm,
me, because of who I am and what I do, much of that leans into spirituality and intuition and trusting self.
mm. One of the things that I love, well, about what you've shared here, so much of it resonates with me, but like it seems to align with something I'm pretty passionate about, which is just like uh, giving permission, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody wants to do their thing and go their way. And I believe the majority of people want to do it for good reasons and with good intentions. And so I'm all about like, then fucking do it, you know? Like
Right?
it sounds like that aligns a lot with your mission. So
Yeah. And
nice.
when you give yourself permission to say yes, it is incredible the resources and the support that shows up to allow you to move into whatever you've said yes to.
Hmm.
Often we
Hmm.
do it because as humans, we're programmed to fear change, right?
Hmm.
And yet, change is that precipice of greatness. You can't be great and brilliant from status quo. Greatness requires pushing the edge just a little bit and finding that incredible alchemical balance of fear and excitement, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Push.
And the other thing that it strikes for me is like greatness for yourself and greatness for others, right? Like the ability to be great for your own goals and objectives and aims, the ability to be great for people that matter to you, family, friends, loved ones, and even ability to be great for the benefit of others, like our community or the people who have more constraints placed upon them, you know, being an advocate, being a champion, and so forth.
100%. Because when we allow ourselves to step into our greatness, into our brilliance, it's implicit permission for others to do the same.
Mm,
And I'll geek out on you a little bit from an energetic perspective. What you've done is create an energy field that allows people to entrain into it and say, oh, okay, so this is possible for me. And
mhm,
maybe I can take a chance. I mean, there's an influence, inspiration piece to living your own brilliance.
mm,
And the other thing I want to key on that you said, Paul, that is so incredibly essential, especially in this time. Um, we will not affect change without starting at the community level,
mm,
period.
I believe that as well. Like we're kind of being returned to the concept of villages and tribes and I don't mean that like in a negative way. I mean like literally with all of the things that are happening in the world today and so many people that I know who are in addition to myself talking about, oh my gosh, what can I do about it? The things that are happening half a planet away and so forth. And absolutely, if there's something we can do about it, I believe we can and should be.
Yep.
But also, kind of the message that I share with a lot of people too is like what you can affect right now is the circle around you, your community, your loved ones, the people in your neighborhood, your household, and so forth. And because ultimately, no matter what happens on Facebook or TikTok or YouTube, over there and over there and over there, this is where you live and these are the people,
Yeah.
you know? So,
Yeah.
okay, I want to get into your story here. Because you and I, first of all, I could tell you and I could have lots of conversations. So we are in the right place at the right time on this lovely sunny Friday, in our two different locations. Before we get into the five questions and into the meat of your story, I want to ask another question. I feel like you've already kind of previewed this for us. As you think ahead to the next 30, 40 minutes or so telling your story today, what would be your intention for yourself today?
To be vulnerable in authentically sharing everything about who I am and what I stand for so that I can inspire somebody to take a step.
Mm, okay. Well, that's in perfect alignment with my intention for every episode, right? And that is that, obviously I'll create the space for you to share your story today. There will be people out there who see a little bit of themselves in you and your story, and that they will feel a little bit more connected, a little less alone, and in the best of cases, maybe even feel inspired or empowered to go out and do something they've been wanting to do.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
perfect.
Question one, Teresa. Where in your life have you found yourself sitting on a comma?
I love the whole concept of sitting on a comma. Can I just tell you how much it
Mm,
delights me? So thank you for creating that. I think there's many points in my life where I've sat on the comma. The most recent and the most profound for me was my experience beginning in 2020 with COVID
mm, mhm,
and unfolding even until today. So, for context, pre-COVID, I was very focused on my corporate persona and my job.
mm,
I was released from my job literally about 4 weeks before COVID closed Seattle down. I'm in Seattle. Seattle was the epicenter of the beginning of the shutting
that's
down.
right. Oh my gosh, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So literally, I went from here's your wonderful, structured, predictable life to now what? Complete void of potential, which scared the
Mm,
crap out of me. Like, okay, so now what? And for context, I had spent the last year revising my personal website because I'd done a lot of corporate consulting and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed
mhm,
empowering leaders to be better leaders. I still do. I,
mhm,
I, I
mhm,
do have a love of business and it needed to look different. I didn't know that at the time.
mm,
And that's the pushing off of the comma. That's the other side of the comma. And that is embracing 100% of my spiritual gifts, they're not gifts, they're abilities,
mhm,
and understanding why I'm here on the planet. So I
mm,
have a theory, and the theory is this. Every single one of us on this planet at this time is a puzzle piece.
mm,
And the more that we fill in the richness and the fullness, stepping into our brilliance of our piece of the puzzle, the more we get to determine what the puzzle looks like. And
mm,
the foundation of that puzzle all of a sudden becomes inspirational and beautiful because everybody is self expressing from an authentic place.
mm, mm,
So I learned how to fill out my puzzle and I understand what my purpose on the planet is.
mm. Can
Who
I jump
doesn't want
in?
that? Yeah,
Yeah, can I jump in and reflect a couple of things and then
yeah,
obviously continue and expand a couple of things. One, I definitely see the big shift, right? I see a shift in identities as you described, like before this comma moment and subsequently the pandemic, corporate identity. Now, uh, from there and ongoing, what is the identity?
yeah,
You use this phrase, complete void of potential. You said it felt like at the time. And then now this kind of like exploring something entirely different and something entirely new. And I know you're going to continue to share more of the story with us. I
yeah.
had one question though. You said my spiritual gifts. You said no, they're abilities, not gifts. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, it's a really important distinction because I know that each and every one of us has intuitive abilities. And let me
Mm,
contextualize that because I think it helps people to understand what I'm stating. We have all of our physical senses: hearing, smelling, sight, taste, knowing, our brain, feeling, the skin.
hmm
And what we've done is, over the hundreds of years, suppressed the depth of those senses. Okay. Everybody can relate to this.
hmm
You walk into a room and you know immediately everybody's happy or everybody's pissed off. And you can feel it. That is intuition.
hmm
That is the intuitive ability of empathy. You think of somebody they call. That's claircognizance. That's direct knowing. So we've poo-pooed it or mysticized it. We have moved away from normalizing intuition as an ability that allows us to know more than the brain can hold. So your
hmm
brain holds maybe this much, a teacup of information, and yet there's a vast ocean.
hmm
And if you allow yourself to open into intuition, you can access the information in the ocean.
Well, and it's interesting because what comes up for me, I have conversations similar to this with people all the time. What comes up for me, right, is a couple of things. One with the cup analogy or metaphor, analogy, whatever, with the cup visual, which I love, is like for me, I think uh, when you talk about a vast ocean, it's not meant for me to hold that vast ocean.
Mm-mm.
The teacup may be the capacity, and I think, oh, well, I need to make it bigger to hold more. No, the teacup is it needs to flow through, and I'll access what I need when I need it, right?
Yes.
It's not meant to
Yeah.
all be stored there.
And the reason for that is because the moment we put it in the teacup, we create a belief, a behavior, or a judgment about what we think we know. And
Mm,
we narrow the aperture again
mm-hmm,
instead of opening to the void of possibilities.
mm-hmm,
So that's our mind. We have we have decided as a society that our mind is the absolute pinnacle of knowledge. And
mm-hmm,
it's not. For one, it's the heart. The heart will give you more information than your head will.
mm-hmm,
If you close your eyes and tune into your heart, you can ask any question, literally any question in the world, and you will get the right answer. Whereas
mm,
your head is going to give you all the data, it's going to talk about all your experiences, it's going to tell you what your aunt said when you were 6 because you tripped over that thing,
mm-hmm,
instead of giving you what is absolute truth. You can't have a logical conversation with your heart. Your heart just goes, meh, I don't
mm-hmm,
care. Shut up.
mm-hmm. Well, and you talked about over centuries, us suppressing our senses or suppressing the depth of our senses and so forth. And yet, many of us are out here using them. Well, let me clarify. We are all out here using them all day, every day. Many of us are aware of it. Some of us are unconscious of it. Some of us are probably doing it without even, you know, realizing it, similar to unconscious, but the fact is like we're experiencing it, whether we can explain it or define it or not.
100%. We get thousands of messages a day
Mm-hmm.
and we consciously receive three,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is, again, it's all about context. I'm huge on context because if you can explain it, then I can get my brain to wrap around it and buy into it.
Right. Which is so ironic because you're just talking about the heart and yet there's the head, right? The
Yeah,
brain.
well, it has the loudest voice
Mm-hmm.
because that's what we've trained it to be, the loudest voice.
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at our senses, if our eye is drawn to something, it's because there's a message for us. If we're walking around the grocery store and we overhear 6 words of a conversation, it's because we're meant to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like your intuition is highlighting information it wants you to receive. And it may not make sense in the moment, but if you take note, what will unfold, and this is the magic, right? This is the
Hmm.
magic. What will unfold is your intuition, your abilities, your soul will continue to feed you information until the whole picture becomes apparent.
Mm.
Um, yeah, why aren't we living this way?
Yeah. Well, and on that point, so let's come back to you and your experience, right? Because um you've been talking about, sitting on the comma through this transition and so forth, and then you've just been describing sort of like how you have operated since then. Take us back a little bit more into the kind of like what happened, what was the experience like? Like how did you come to this place from that previously kind of corporate identity? All of this wisdom that you just shared with us, how did that kind of come into being for you? What was it like?
Yeah, kicking and screaming most of the time.
Mm.
So I can remember some of the key tipping points for me were I asked my clients, what, why did you come to me?
Hmm.
Why me? Because there's a lot of consultants out there you can choose from. And we're
Hmm.
on Zoom. You could pick from the whole world.
Mm.
And they said, because your intuition is always on point. You always tell me exactly what I want to hear, even if I'm not particularly fond of the response.
Mm.
When I sit and reflect on that, I understand it.
Hmm.
I thought, my intuition? Okay. And so I said, okay, I'm going to play. I'm adventurous. I'll leap and then I'll look.
Okay.
So I started to play with that. And I was running a series of meetings in an entrepreneurial group where people could come in and solicit information, or I would teach something. And I thought, I'm going to go all in on this. And I'm going to use this group that we meet with every week as my test. And I
Hmm.
started coming much more intuition forward. Well, two things happened. One, nobody missed a meeting.
Mm.
And two, the group grew. Well, there's evidence, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing. So then I took another leap. And I know this sounds so benign, but I swear to God, I was sweating bullets. I put on my website, I took not all of the business jargon out, but I put front and center on my homepage, I'm an intuitive.
Hmm.
And I use this as one of the tools to help you become a better leader, help your business thrive, to give you context on projects, blah, blah, blah. And I can remember I made the change myself and I went in, made the change, hit save, publish, because
Hmm.
I'm in WordPress, and went, what did I do? And the world didn't collapse. I didn't keel over dead. And I
Mm.
just kept, and I do this to this day. This is the underpinning of everything that I step into. I say yes.
Hmm.
I stop. I go into my heart. How does it feel? Yes, I'll do that.
Where did you have well, that's an assumptive question. I'm just gonna ask the damn question. This isn't a
Okay.
it's not a coaching session, so I'm just gonna ask the question, right? So you leaned into and you tapped into this intuitive strength. You had been given feedback about it, but I'm guessing this wasn't brand new news to you. What I'm really curious about is if you play it back to your earlier identity and all the identities from before that may have been. Where have you seen evidence of your intuition in play throughout the timeline of your life?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I was born with all of my gifts completely open and active. I can
Mm.
remember lying in my crib, playing with energies and beings
Mm.
and colors, and it was miraculous and beautiful. And as life does, it presents opportunities and adversities.
Mm.
And I found that I didn't have an audience to talk about what I was
Mm-hmm.
experiencing, um, either in my family or outside of my family and my friends. Um, and I had a challenging upbringing. So the world didn't feel safe. That's actually my personal hurdle for this life,
Mm.
is
Mm-hmm.
learning to feel safe in the world. And if I'm an intuitive who sees and knows more than what is apparent to those not using their intuition, the world is not safe. For
Mm.
example, um, having a teacher lie to you and knowing that it's a lie,
Mm.
not
Mm-hmm.
in my favor,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not to protect me from something they don't want me to know, but because I'm an inconvenience.
Mm-hmm.
Or watching my parents make a decision about our lives, knowing that it was going to be the catalyst for so many challenges that were unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
That happened at 7.
Can I jump in for a moment?
Yeah.
There's something there to that, and I'm self-referencing a little bit, and others might choose to characterize it in a different light, but I'm relating to this because, first of all, you see it for what it is, right? Like that choice in and of itself already is going to be difficult and it's hard, or maybe I don't like it or what have you. But also having the sensing ability, as you're describing, the intuition, to play it forward, to see it fan out, and something in you that you can't explain, knowing where this is going to go and how that's going to unfold
Yeah.
as a life coach. Now, obviously, then, we could challenge those beliefs and say, oh, well, that might be, limiting beliefs or negative thinking or so forth. But we're talking about something different here, right? Like, this isn't the whole, do I want to start a business? And, oh, I can think of all the reasons why it would fail. This is a deep sensing and an intuitive hit of something that already I don't like that. That's kind of bad for me. And this isn't going to be good. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm like
100%.
retelling your story. You tell me.
Yeah. 100%. It was a single decision that my dad made on behalf of the family that put us in a position where we would be nomadic for my
Mm,
entire upbringing.
hmm
And the challenge with that is, and this is true of all kids, and for those in the military, I know you hear what I'm saying.
hmm
You can't, it's, no, you can't. It's very difficult to create stability for children who don't have a solid foundation to come back to.
hmm
So, by definition, you're creating instability. And then compound that with all of the challenges that our early years are meant to be. We're creating belief systems, we're making up our mind on who's good or bad, we're deciding what is right for us. We're creating a lot of judgments and beliefs that are going to influence us our entire
hmm
lives.
mm,
Compound that with dysfunction, physical, emotional, psychological, mental, and all of a sudden you've got a recipe for disaster.
mm,
And um and so that was my experience, and I could see it was one of the common moments, right?
hmm hmm
That was one of the most profound ones for me.
mm,
Because I made a decision at that time that I would not share my intuition, I would not tell anybody, and I would suppress it. And I only gave my intuition permission to have my attention when I was in danger.
mm,
And it did. And it would come up. I can remember driving down a highway when I was 16. I lived in Montreal. I was in Toronto visiting friends. I had followed my parents in my own car. And as I'm coming home to where we had regrouped with family friends, from my personal friends, driving down the highway, I heard very distinctly, slow down, do the limit, and stay calm.
Mm,
And then my attention was drawn to a police officer who was clocking speeds. Now, it wasn't that I would get a ticket, but it was that that person was not safe for a single 16-year-old girl
mm,
in a town hundreds of miles from her home,
mm. Wow.
right?
That's deep, right? And that's the kind of thing with this sort of ability, right? Is it's not always cut and dry, oh, slow down so you don't get a ticket. No, there's something even deeper at play there. And
Yes,
if you pay attention, people will tell these stories even when they don't even realize they're telling these stories.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody experiences something like that in
Hmm.
their life where their guides redirect them away from catastrophe.
Hmm.
I mean, we create our own two by four moments, we create our own challenges, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But that was outside what my soul wanted me to experience.
Hmm. I want to bring you back into the current comma. Obviously, as you need to go backwards, forwards, whatever you need to tell your story. But I want to get into our second question. So let's reframe you back into the current comma. So, the shift in your career trajectory and the pandemic. Now you have started to explore and lead with your intuitive gifts. You've incorporated it into your business model. And where I interrupted, you had just changed and put the words on your website. Question two is, as you look back at this comma that you were sitting on, what did it create for you?
It created permission to be my authentic self, that I didn't have to hold back anymore.
Mm,
And more over the subsequent years, I would open up. You know, it's like the onion, the layers kept peeling away. And you made a comment before we jumped on. You said, um, you said if there's anything that you share that you would like me to edit out. And my response to that is, I give myself full permission to expose anything, expose and share anything about myself, because I trust that whatever you and I discuss today, there's
mm,
somebody out there that needs to hear it. And that to me is far more important than a momentary discomfort,
mm,
right?
mm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Greatness for others, right? Like we were
yeah.
talking about. So, and it happens so often. I think probably the most obvious example of when that comes up, and this is relevant to your story, is in trusting. Is somebody will be in the middle of a story. It just happened yesterday. His episode will air just shortly before yours does. And he was talking about something entirely different, but he was talking about going to his father for advice and started tearing up. And then we had
Oh,
a whole conversation about it. And the importance of his father to him, and then he realized that there was a connection to what he had been sharing, which was the other people he was reaching out to for help, and the trust and so forth. And the point being that, like you said, it's that those moments of vulnerability, we're not here to capitalize on them or to leverage them or monopolize on them. It's like that is what I love about authentic conversations and sharing, like what you're sharing with us, is whatever comes up must have been relevant and important. And it's just like you said, somebody out there who'll be like, oh my gosh, that happens to me sometimes. And look at them. They rolled with it. Like maybe I could roll with it too.
yeah, maybe it would be safe. Yeah.
You answered the question by saying permission to be my authentic self.
Hmm.
And I guess before we go into the next three questions, I'd just love to hear a little bit more. Um, you've already kind of described, having to hide the intuitive abilities and so forth. Like, what else did having permission to be your authentic self create for you? maybe this is the part you take it where you want to, but maybe this is the part where you start to kind of tell the story forward a little bit. And this happened, and this happened, and this happened. I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, yeah. No, let's do that. So, what happened was I began to unveil my intuitive abilities. I began to trust, I began to open up, and I began to share. I
Mm,
learned that when you are intuitive and you receive information, and I'm saying this because obviously somebody out there needs to hear it, you first have to ask when you receive information about somebody else, is this for me or is it for them? Make
mm-hmm,
sure you understand that clearly. And then, is this for me to know about them so that I can learn? Or is this for me to share? So
mm-hmm,
I began to learn the distinction between receiving information so that I can learn and receiving information to empower others. And there's a level of kindness and integrity that underlies because intuition can also be weaponized, right? Like anything
mm-hmm,
else.
mm-hmm,
So I learned how to trust, how to share with authentic, kind, loving intent. I also opened up to deeper levels of intuition, and that turned out to be channeling.
mm,
Now, I don't know if you're familiar with channeling, so I'll give a little bit of context. It's
mm-hmm,
on a spectrum. You can go from trance channel, who goes right in, like Bashar is a trance channel. You go right in and abdicate sort of permission to who's going to inhabit the body, and they speak through you.
mm-hmm.
That's not me. I have too many control issues. I'm on the other end of the spectrum, and it's not only control, but it's also because I'm a multi-source channel. So channeling for me means I have access to multiple streams of wisdom. So we talked about the teacup and the ocean. So I now have a perspective on the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And based on the conversations we're having, certain pieces of the ocean will come in and make themselves known to me. So my connection to source, to universal wisdom, is constant. It doesn't shut down completely ever. So
Mm,
even like in our conversation, much of what I'm sharing is guided by what the universe is saying I need to express and share
mm,
because it already knows time is an illusion. It already knows who the audience is, who needs to hear what. And with everything that I share, and I have permission to share this, everything I share, my words and my voice is encoded with transmissions and energy codes. All of ours are,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm,
Um, and an extreme example is you know by voice inflection when somebody is happy or sad or angry.
mm-hmm,
For me, it's deeper in that for everyone listening, you're receiving energy codes and transmissions, and your higher self, your soul self, will pick and choose the ones that they want to learn from in the moment, the ones they want to store for later, and the ones that they don't want to receive because it's not
mm,
relevant for their life's unfolding, for their soul purpose. So for me, it was moving into the channeling. And by doing so, I started downloading classes. I started downloading information. I started downloading formulas.
mm,
For example, how to manifest and work with the universe to co creatively manifest.
mm-hmm,
It's talked to me about, what's going on in the world. What is this whole fifth dimensional thing that so many people are talking about, and how is it relevant to people?
mm-hmm,
Um, so it was a deepening into all of my intuitive abilities, which then gave me permission to say yes in places that were all of a sudden showing up synchronistically. So by
mm-hmm,
changing my vibration, I was calling in things, experiences, people that wouldn't have seen me otherwise. Make
mm,
sense?
mm-hmm. I so appreciate what you're saying because it can resonate with so many people regardless of like belief system or how much they agree or disagree with what you're saying, because people can take what you're saying literally, right? And people can
Hmm.
take what you're saying and it's like, that does apply to me, but I believe maybe in a little bit of a different way. And there could be people who say, well, I would use different words or whatever. But the truth is what you're talking about is really sort of a letting go of old ways, opening yourself up to new ways, and being open to what comes. Now, I know you're saying it with a whole lot more nuance and distinction and intention, and yet this is accessible to anyone, regardless of the vocabulary that we use, right?
100%. You don't have to be intuitive to have the experience that I had and continue to have. What
Hmm.
you have to do is give yourself permission to change your perspective on a belief or a judgment or an opinion, to say yes to change, to say yes to something that came into your life that when you close your eyes and lay your hand on your heart feels right for you, but you would never have considered stepping in that direction
Hmm.
because it may be the door that answers the yearning that lives inside you to find purpose and meaning to create legacy, which is where we
Hmm.
all began, right?
Hmm.
Legacy.
Hmm.
What do you want to be known for? What do you want to leave behind? And I also want to say that that yearning, every single human on this planet has it. Whether they acknowledge it or admit it or not, it's
Hmm.
there.
And it's both a blessing and it can be a curse, right? Like
Yeah.
it can be the most fun ride and the thing that really charges and energizes us. And for some of us, or sometimes for all of us, like it can be such a burden because it feels like this compulsion, this thing I can't stop and control it. I can't feed it, right? I can't feed it
Yeah.
enough. It's a hunger.
Yep.
Let me jump into the third question here. It's a little bit of a reflection. I think you've already answered this to a degree, but let's open it up and expand on your story too if you need to. What have you learned about yourself as a result of sitting on this comma?
God, you can, that I'm deeply loved
Mm,
and that the love isn't from somebody else. It's from myself to myself.
mm,
And that God, the universe, whatever your nomenclature is, also holds that same level of love. And that I can't do it wrong,
mm,
even if those 2x4 moments that you mentioned a moment ago show up, there's a purpose behind them
mm,
because we don't learn through doing the easy stuff. We don't.
mm,
We learn by facing our challenges and overcoming, thus creating the foundation of our character,
mm,
right?
mm.
So,
You just had a very deep kind of reaction to your response to that question, or your response was very deeply emotional to you. What what's important about what you just said, that I was loved and that I can give myself love? Like, what was important about that declaration that you just made?
I've always felt like I was the weird kid,
Mm,
right? I was always the new kid in school, never really even stayed for a full year. Um, I always felt the world was unsafe based on some of the things that have happened in my life.
mm,
And when you finally allow yourself to love yourself, despite all the things that have happened and all the things that people have said, it's liberating. And we don't teach our kids, we don't teach ourselves to love ourselves first. to make ourselves a priority, which is, in my opinion,
Mm.
a failing
Mm-hmm.
societally.
Mm.
Um, and I'm also very deeply empathetic. I'm an empath, and I can feel, and it's funny, it occurred when you and I first started talking as well. Today just hit different. Our
Mm.
conversation is hitting different. And I could
Mm.
feel how um, the vitality behind our conversation, both for myself, for those listening, for you, and I can feel the tears gathering behind my eyes.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
yeah,
I'll give you a moment while I kind of reflect and acknowledge, because I think it's important to be able to sit with that. And regardless of how we identify as, deeply logical, deeply emotional, or whatever, I believe that when the tears come, they're telling us something from very deep within in us. So, in my opinion, like the tears are always like a really important sign, if not even a good sign, right?
mhm,
You're sitting with another empath, so clearly, or even somebody who's empathetic, right? Like clearly, we're having a connection because of the safe space to really feel the feelings deeper. And I think
yeah,
for a lot of people who hear the word empath or empathetic and they poo-poo it because it's not logical or whatever, at its simplest level or at its most basic level, I think for people who say that's not who I am and I don't understand it, first of all, you don't have to. Like, I don't understand spreadsheets either, but thank God there are people who do, right? It's not entirely true. But um, the thing is like when somebody is an empath or empathetic or whatever, at its minimum, you just have the capacity to feel feelings on a much deeper level, more strongly than other people might feel, right? So,
yeah,
and it can be any of the feelings, right? And again, I'm kind of reflecting this, so by all means jump in, but whether it's, as you said, like something very, very poignant and deep and heartfelt, it could also be the same thing with worry or anger or anxiousness or excitement. Like you, by your very nature, are going to feel that way more than somebody else would. And that can both be mystical. And for people who live in a more logical world, that doesn't have to be mystical either. It just is a matter of somebody even tasting food more deeply than other people do. So I just
yes,
want to acknowledge that in you and acknowledge, first of all, how much I appreciate it as somebody who also, feels feelings very deeply and they can come up very quickly. And
yeah,
that there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. The thing that came up as you were saying what you said, there were so many things that you said there, and I wrote a few notes down. But when you were talking about being, the weird kid and the new kid all the time and so forth, and you realized you were loved, and I'm like, nothing will bring the well up like untelling an untruth to
hmm,
yourself, right? Something
yeah,
that I always believed, and then somebody comes along and says, "That's not true. You are better. You are good. You are okay," or what have you. Boy, that'll get it every time because of those beliefs that from childhood that we can hold on to so much.
yeah, and that dictate everything that we do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the paradigm shift from having all of those things that we heard and experienced in our childhood driving the bus to us being, oh, no, no, I am loved and I'm worthy and I'm allowed to be fully self-expressed because I bring
Mm-hmm.
value. Who says that nowadays? Not enough people.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to reflect on empathy.
Mm-hmm.
It is the most prominent, let's try that one more time,
Mm.
prominent intuitive ability on the planet. Every single human is an empath, and we know this. We can feel it in our
Mm-hmm.
hearts, right? We
Mm-hmm.
know when we walk into a room that is filled with anger. We know when we walk into a room that's filled with excitement. You feel what it's like to be in a concert or at the theater watching something exciting. That's empathy.
Hmm.
It's
It,
not anything except an additional layer of information that wants to be received by you.
it's recognizing and relating, right? Because this is how you know you have the ability for empathy. If you can see another human being and you can understand even at the most basic level and relate to what that other human being is experiencing, must be experiencing, or what you believe they're experiencing, that's
Yeah.
empathy, right? And that's why it's so easy to recognize when somebody does not have empathy, right? There's the
Yeah.
recognition of empathy in each other, and then there's the clear recognition of somebody else's lack of empathy, or
Yeah.
the deep, dark sensing that somebody else, something is wrong, and you don't realize that you're recognizing that they're incapable of empathy. And it's sad that they exist. They're
Yeah.
certainly, in my opinion, the minority, but they're out there. One need only look to the news headlines today, right?
Agreed. 100%.
Teresa, let me jump into the fourth question. You've shared some of this already, but what would you add? What has changed for you as a result of sitting on this comma?
My whole life.
Mm,
I have had opportunities drop into my lap that I wasn't looking for and didn't know I want.
mm,
I have had people, I am just continuously amazed at the people that get called into my life. Circumstantial chance meetings of extraordinary human beings. Um, and there's a sense of peace and calm and ease
mm,
as I lean into the trust. You know, a lot of the uncertainty that I've lived with in my life has dissipated because I
mm,
just know that what is going to unfold for me is going to be fun.
mm.
Yeah.
I hear trust, right? Did you use the word trust, or maybe I'm just repeating it, but definitely trust. Um, and I'm guessing you tell me that there's something to it's there's this distinction that I think is important for folks to hear, because I remember the first time I realized this, I was like, I wish somebody had told me that. But also, it's like it wouldn't have mattered. Like, you'll hear it and understand it finally when you need to hear it and understand it. And that is, it's not so much that you cast a magic spell and now everything is going to be amazing and wonderful from now on, or that, you're only in an upward arc and there's some pinnacle of success and
Mhm.
achievement. It's this recognition that no matter what happens on the journey,
Yeah.
you're going to be okay, and you will find a way to draw meaning from it. And sometimes it
Mhm.
is going to be amazing, and sometimes it's going to be shit. And but yet it's all going to be important, it's all going to be valuable, and you're going to be okay
Yeah.
regardless.
Yeah.
Is that, did I just steal that from you, or
No, that's perfect. I love that. That is so well stated. And you're right. It's trust and surrender.
mm,
And I also think it's important because I don't want to give the impression that everything is beautiful and perfect and amazing because it's not. There are ebbs and flows. But
mhm,
here's what I know about when life ebbs a little bit. When I face the two by four, or I face a challenge, or I hit a wall.
mhm,
I have three tools, and this is what I teach: patience, neutrality, and curiosity.
mhm,
Because everything that comes into your life is meant for you. There's information in the experience that wants to be known so that you can learn and grow. And that doesn't stop. That happens in our life until we die.
mhm,
We are here to learn and grow and evolve. We can't do that by being what I call toxic happiness or toxic
mhm,
positivity.
mhm,
It doesn't, you can't stay in one state. unless you want to be a monk and you have to do all the prerequisites and then go find a cave,
Hmm.
which means you have no interaction with humanity, which means you're just sitting by yourself. No,
Yeah.
that's not fun. That's not what we're
Mm.
here for. So, patience, because if you don't have the information will come. Neutral, nobody's doing anything to you.
Hmm.
You called this into your life. You're experiencing it. You had that reaction. It's yours. Nobody caused it. You're not a
Hmm.
victim. And curiosity. What is this teaching me? What does this experience want me to know?
Mm.
Um, and then it becomes a little more palatable, right?
Yeah.
Then you can go
Yeah.
into it and go, well, that really sucks. I feel like shit. I hate this. And I want to know why. Why
Hmm.
did this come into my life at this time? Is it a redirection? Am I moving in a direction that doesn't align with what's optimal for myself? And the universe is going, dude, go over there, over there, over
Hmm.
there. Because if you keep taking that path, disaster awaits. So often two by fours are redirections.
Hmm.
Or is this an instance where I'm teaching myself a lesson by calling up a belief or behavior that was so ingrained in my childhood that I can't even find its origin? And do I just need to create a new relationship with this belief or behavior? Is this a mental emotional loop? You know what those are, right? Your
Hmm. Hmm.
mental supports the emotional, meh, meh, meh,
Hmm.
and it just keeps going until you say stop.
Right. Right.
So that's life.
Yeah. I love the story and all of the things that you're sharing. As we start to kind of wrap up, question 5 briefly is, what does getting off the comma look like for you?
I don't know. I'll let you know because I think I constantly live on that edge. I'm pushing a little bit more every day. Um, yeah, that's the flow, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's a complete answer, right? I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Like, do we even know? I always love the variety of answers that come up as a result of that question, and that's what's so great
Yeah.
about it is there is no right answer necessarily.
Yeah.
Teresa, as we kind of close things out, last two things here. You know, obviously our story comes to an end here because podcasts have to have an ending. For people who want to follow your story, maybe hear where it goes from here, connect with you, learn more, I'll put all of your links in the show notes. Where can
Yeah.
people find you?
I recommend everybody goes to my webpage, sign up for my email because that's where you hear about all the things I do. Get on the email list and you'll find
Okay.
out what's going on.
Last section, then I do in every episode for every guest is, if we think about your story today, it's all about, you know, normalizing storytelling and listening and elevating other people's voices, drawing inspiration from other people's stories. Your story wouldn't be complete if I didn't give you an opportunity to lift up others who matter to you. And I call the section acknowledgments because it's an opportunity for you to boost or give a voice to or lift up others who matter to you. And that could be causes, organizations, other creators, or even just people in your life who are important to you. Who would you like to acknowledge today? And I'll be sure to mention them in the show notes.
Well, I definitely want to acknowledge my daughters, Jessica and Jasmine, who are the most extraordinary human beings. My daughter's wife, Shelby, um, her family, and all of the people that I get to meet with in my trust circle and my clients. They make a difference every day
Hmm.
for me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. So, with that, let's bring it to a close. Thank you again for sharing your story today, giving us a window into some of the things that you've learned through your life, and giving us an opportunity to be inspired by some of the things that you've taken from your sitting on a comma and getting off the comma moments. So I will definitely look forward. We're going to talk some more off of the mic, but I wish you a wonderful weekend ahead, and I'll be following your journey as well.
Wonderful. Thank you for the opportunity, Paul.
Take care. What an honor it is for me to hear and share these powerful stories. I hope you feel the same way. Think about what you learned from this conversation. I encourage you to write it down in some form of journaling or reflection, because surprises can reveal themselves to you when you write your thoughts down. If you were moved by today's conversation, pass it along to someone you care about. And if you do discover something you'd like to unpack further, book a call with me and let's talk about it. My links are in the show notes. Be sure to like this episode and follow the podcast here on this platform and all social media at Off the Comma. Feel free to interact and comment. Thank you for listening to this episode of Off the Comma. As always, keep noticing and keep listening.